Hi, Jessica.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. It's a bit warm here, but I hope it gets better.
I feel you. It's pretty warm here too in Philly.
Yeah, I mean everywhere apparently this
Yeah,
summer.
the
The
globe, the
summer.
entire earth.
Yeah, I know. So I was telling everyone that today we will be talking about like staying social and why that's important or not, if you do it, if you have strategies and everything. So there is someone from Indonesia right now saying hello. Um,
Hey.
so yeah, thank you everyone. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments. There is also like a question bubble there where you can add your. That's easier if you add them there so that we can have them there and we can add them. And I guess we can start by introducing our guest today, who is Jessica from Workfrom. Thank you very much for being with us today. Tell us about you, what you do, about Workfrom, everything.
All right. So I'm Jess, Workfrom. We build tools for the future of work and for remote work. So I do operations and marketing there. And we also have a community of 3,500 workers in a remote work Slack that we run. So I run that. And we also have virtual cafes that we've built, which is pretty cool. Imagine like a Zoom breakout room meets MySpace. So they have music. They're really easy to drop into. They have doors. They have text chat. So yeah, I spend a lot of time in there most of my days, and yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yay. So a fellow marketer and everything that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yay. So yesterday I made a survey with our community and I was asking everyone like, do you feel lonely when you're working remotely? And I added three possible answers. One was, yes, I feel lonely. Sometimes I feel lonely. And the third one was like, I actually like to be lonely. And I guess I knew because I feel that way too. I knew that a lot of people that work remotely actually enjoy this like solitude that you can like work. So do you feel that way also?
Yeah, I do actually. When pandemic happened, I think I was pretty I was enjoying the break of social a little bit, but now that we are what almost 3 years into it, I think that getting into a good routine of making time for it has been a good balance for me, for sure. But yeah, I can sympathize. I love being at home. I love the solitude. I love having my space and my autonomy. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a common trait between like among remote workers, or so I've seen that we all enjoy like our own time and being alone and like working however we want. So that's I think like for people that like working that way, I think that's like a nice thing. And is there ever a moment for you where you are like, oh, I need to like talk with someone else or like I need to go out or like do you feel that way sometimes?
I would say that from a personal level, I can be pretty under the radar, but I think something that's interesting is that we have a live co-working group that we work with at community in a remote work Slack. So we hop into a virtual cafe and we work together so our community members can join. We have a really cool integration that tells our Slack channel that someone has gone into the room. So we've created this ability to have like serendipity in remote work. And since these people are not on my work from team, they're other fellow remote workers around the world.
Mm.
Um, it creates a lot of social for me remotely though. Like that's kind of like a good blend for me is like having it be remote. And it gives me the same feeling as like going to a co-working space, but it's done virtually. So I think that was a good, that set the tone for my days early on in the pandemic
Mm.
because I started remote work fully March of 2020, like right when all this happened. I started with
Mm.
work from like a week before it became like a big, huge thing. Like, and
Ah,
so I had never really been fully remote, and I knew Workfrom had been, you know, since their inception. So I was looking forward to learning a lot of tools and going to co-working spaces and cafes, but that never kind of got implemented into my day or my routine. So this notion of virtual cafes got stood up really, really quickly. June of 2020, we started them. And then everyone from our community started hopping in there, and I would work with people who were, you know, in Buenos Aires and like from all over the globe, and traveling in Portugal. And so that kind of gave me that social. So when I have that every day, I really don't feel like I need to have it. But on a personal level, if I do miss my friends, you know, that sort of thing, I do try to take walks during my day. Or what we do, this really cool thing at Workfrom, we do these things called walk and talks, which
Mm-hmm.
they're completely optional. And I think socializing on Teams should be opt in and not so much forced fun, especially if you're in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
meetings. You know, if you're super synced, it can really start to feel like forced fun. So I love that we do these kind of opt-in brainstorming sessions when people can join, and if they're available. It makes it a lot of fun to go and get our steps together, and you know, we'll kind of report back in on our team check-in, like, oh, we did like 5 miles last week, or you know, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I think that is something that is a lot of fun for a team to do, is, you know, be social together and still talk about work, but you know, go for walks together. So we try to do that too.
That's actually a cool thing. And I think you mentioned something like super important, and you first said like you were looking forward to actually like going to working spaces, to cafes, and to like have that kind of socialization. And then when the pandemic happened, of course, like you could not do it, but instead you had like this other way of being social online. So now that things are going like slowly back to normal, well, I guess in where you are, it's almost back to normal. Do you feel it's the same to like be social in person and to be social online?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of comfort that comes with being at home, right, in your own space, and being
Yeah.
remote, and socially remote. I think it's important to still be in person. Personally, I don't know about, from a team perspective, it's a little bit different. But I do enjoy, I've met up with friends, and we've gone to a local cantina on a Friday at 3 o'clock. We wrapped up our day, and being able to have that flexibility and kind of work together, even though we're not even within the same organization, was a lot of fun. And I think it's really important to have that human energy too. Like, even if you don't plan on being social or like conversing with people, having cafes and co-working spaces that just have like the bustle of people, I think can really like maximize productivity for you, maximize your focus, give you some like white or ambient noise to kind of get in your own zone. And there's a lot of research around also body doubling, and having
Mm.
people be busy near you. So when you see other people who are in cafes and co-working spaces kind of heads down doing work, that kind of triggers you to be productive as well, even though you may not be super aware of it, but it is having an
Yeah.
effect on you. So I can appreciate that. That's not something that I have, like I said, gotten into the vibe of doing. But I think I should. I think you're bringing up a good point. I should probably go out and do that more. But yeah, there
Yeah, I
definitely
mean
is a difference.
that's I think with the pandemic and remote work, like there was also like a big shift in how we do social stuff, because for a lot of people, work is where they socialize. Like that's where they go to the office and meet people. And like, for example, I just moved to another country last year, and I work remotely, so it's been really hard for me to like meet people because people normally meet at work. And for me, it's like, well, I have to make like a real effort to be social, to like go to do something right. But I also think you become like more yeah, like what's the word, like not strategic, but like more conscious of like what you do to stay social, who you want to be social with, right? Because now you have like that choice. Like if there's, like in the office, it's possible that you might be with someone that you don't really like, but it's the office, so you don't have any other choice. So now I get to be like intentional with how I socialize. So I think that's like an interesting thing that's happening with remote work and how we are social now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's that intentionality, I think, that has to be in place. And it's something new for a lot of people who are new to remote work, and certainly managers, right? Because, like you said, there was always these moments within the office where you could run into somebody. And I think there's an interesting thing around team rituals. And this is something that we hope to tackle at Workfrom. You know, there's always those people that you see at the coffee machine at 9, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
chatting, you start to build and form a relationship with them. Or there may be a group of people who are always at the gym at the same time, or stepping out to go get lunch or taking walks together. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to create informal communication in remote work. I just think we have to be more intentional, like you said. And yeah, the easy thing is just to go back to the office, right? And just dictate when everybody works and how they work. But again, then you start getting into the problem of forced fun and forced socialization with people, like you said, you may not get along with. I remember when I worked long days, 9 to 5 in Silicon Valley, it was like, let's all like, I haven't been home, I get home at 7:30 at night. Now you want me to hang out after work and have pizza with people? Like, I want to go home to my family. Like, like that's not what I want. So yeah, I think there is a balance, of intentionality and blocking off your day. And I think managers should be setting that tone from above as well. And also employees should be in control of their schedule to have that autonomy and to make time for that, and yeah, there's ways to do it. It can be done. It's harder than just going back to the office.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's worth it for the balance, right? Like,
yeah, definitely. I mean, at We Work Remotely, for example, we have our like social hour every week, and we get like, if you want, you can join. As you said, like it's not forced or anything. So if you want, you can join, and like we talk about whatever, like what we're watching on TV or whatever that might be, and it's just like like a fun thing to do from time to time if you can join and everything. And so you're talking about rituals, you're talking about like having, like being intentional and like having strategies. What would you say? I mean, obviously, I guess Workfrom is one of the things you kind of like use. But what would you say like are these things that people should like start thinking about to like stay social, to like stay connected with others?
yeah, that's a good question. I think the first thing is blocking off time on your calendar, and I think that's a big shift. If you're forced into meetings every single day, let's just say back to back, that's going to be really hard to do. But if you have some freedom over your schedule, making time for yourself, and not just social, but for yourself as well, it's really helpful for me to put that on my calendar, and it kind of holds myself accountable, right? And so I think that's really important. And like you said, opt-in social events should be on the calendar as well, even if you don't keep them up. I have every day I have a sync with our CEO Darren, and we may just end up doing like a voice chat back and forth, or we kind of say hi to each other. It's just like a quick stand-in, I guess, check-in, stand-up, but that keeps me a little bit social. I know it's coming, and we either do work or maybe we'll just do a walk together. I think that's pretty interesting. The walk and talks have been really helpful for us. That's beyond, our virtual cafes. And so,
how do you do that walk and talk? Like how are the logistics of that? That's interesting.
Super modern. You call me on my phone and I answer it. It's so crazy. It's a phone call. It's literally going back in time. Let's go back to the, old school days. It's just a phone call. And then we literally will walk around town, and with this really big heat, this really heavy heat right now, I will actually hop on the Peloton in my basement sometimes and just, we've had people run stairs. Like there was a bunch of stairs, and a teammate of ours, Eric, just ran up and down the stairs. I think that's been really good, also healthy for all of us, and it's a good team building exercise, Also, I would say Gonzalo Hall, who runs a remote village in Madeira, right now, like it's in Portugal. He had a really good. We were talking about he was talking about how to end your workday, and basically, he will create social events at the end of his workday with his friends that hold him accountable to end his day. And so I felt that was really cool. So setting up something like a dinner at like 6 or 6:30, that's going to force you to work more efficiently near the end of your day, and then get all your to-dos and then wrap up your day and be sociable. So I think that's a really cool strategy. That's kind of what I do. And I think co-working is good for people who like to go out and feel that human energy. I think you should at least be around humans if, that feels good, and taking walks and breaks for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Going out, like going out, I think already helps everyone. And so talking more specifically about Workfrom, like how, like if you were going to like recommend people to use Workfrom to like stay social, or like to, like yeah, like stay social, what would be like the selling points? Like, what would you say about work from?
I would say we make it really easy to get in the same room together, you know, and so
Mm,
these virtual spaces, they're video rooms essentially. They open your browser. You don't need to have an account. There's no downloads. You know, when you start that Zoom meeting and you have to go through the download, you're like, oh no, and then it's kind of that never
yeah.
happens. So you have dedicated spaces that you can decorate yourself. So it shows a lot of your personality. You can connect a Spotify, a YouTube, or you know, choose a radio station, and we have a door that you can open and close. So this is really good for anybody who has a community and you have events that you want people to come to.
Mm,
I wouldn't say like I would say they're more about rituals, you know, because they feel more like intimate spaces. They're not like a hop in where it's going to be, you know, tools for
mm-hmm,
large groups to meet. This is really for making human connections. So we have a lot of people who do live co-working in them, and a lot of communities, a lot of customers will have like, let's say, freelance Fridays where all freelancers will come together and work together. So it's a really good opportunity to bring together people and communities and work virtually together. And that's what we're facilitating here. And we're also looking at standing up a new offering where we host co-working for you and have, you know, a timer, a Pomodoro timer. We can do work sprints together. And I think that really helps us and others have a forcing function for focus. So
mm-hmm.
our virtual cafe, we kind of use it to kind of come and go because that's how these spaces are intended to kind of come and go and be capture those informal communication, those moments that you would have at the water cooler, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do in these spaces because they're always on, they're always dedicated, and the link doesn't expire. So it's really fun. Or you can coordinate events, which I think is even more powerful. If you're saying, hey, let's, you know, work every Friday in here, we can have a bunch of people come together and get focused and have, you know, some good productivity time together, and we can
Mm-hmm.
all go heads down together and feel that human energy virtually. So that's what we're trying to facilitate.
Yes. Yeah, so for everyone that hasn't tried work from, you should go like and check them out. Um, yeah, so yesterday I asked, you know, like what do you do when you want to be social? Like, what are your suggestions? And some people were like, well, you know, like I chat with my coworkers a couple of times a week, and that I think that's like a great thing. Like I honestly, for myself, for example, when I have meetings, I already feel like my social time is like that's my social time when I meet people through calls or however I meet them. So that's already like a good, like, do you feel that way also, that when you have meetings, it's like, that's already my social time?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can see how that can happen. We don't, since we're an async first culture at Workfrom, we don't have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of meetings. So I kind of love that. And because we have optional, you know, walk and talks and we have these sync sessions that are kind of optional, I do love that we get together biweekly. And what we'll do is co-founder Brooke Herford, she will join me every other week, same with Darren, our CEO, and we just talk personal. And I think that's really important that we don't talk work. And we also have
Mm-hmm.
a standing team meeting every Wednesday. We keep it brief. You know, it's a quick check-in, but I love that we're talking not about work. And I think that's pretty important too. I think, you know, on site at work, you could get out of a meeting and then talk in the hallway with some people, or you could talk before you get in the meeting. It's really hard to
Mm-hmm.
capture that informal communication remotely. So I think building the time in bi-weekly to kind of do that is really awesome. And I just love that we could just sit down and we talk about movies and what shows that you're watching. And me and Brooke will go off on, you know, oh my gosh, have you seen The Staircase? No, you have to see it. You know, it just kind of, we just connect on a real like yeah, personal level. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people new to remote, um, yeah, they should just remember to recognize, you know, especially managers and such, just having back-to-back meetings, it can feel really social and it can drain your social battery. But then you think
Yes.
about the bonds that you're making with your teammates and other people you work with, maybe carving out some time to be more personable and talk about personal stuff and not be all about work, I think is important too.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that
Yeah,
we do that.
definitely. Yes, that's super important. And I mean, also it depends, right? Like I know there are some people that really enjoy having like that social and like those calls like all the time. It's like, hey, do you have like a quick like time for a quick call? And like that's their, like their immediate response to many things, which for others might not work. But again, that's the beauty of remote work, and that's why I love it so much. So my social time for today is this live.
Yes, probably mine too.
Exactly. Yeah. So another person said like, well, I just go out and socialize, like as you said. But many people said like, I just don't socialize. I just work and that's it, which is also valid, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think.
I spend a lot of time in my virtual cafe treating it as like an office for myself too. So I went and connected the new Beyonce album. I was like totally vibing, having my time. But the cool thing about that is from the dashboard, our virtual cafes, you can see when someone's in their office or not. Well, not someone. You can see if someone is in there. You don't know if it's actually me or not. But you can say, oh, I think Jess is in her office. You can actually stop by if my door's open. So that moment where you said, hey, just give me a phone call or just swing by, like when you're on site, people would say, just swing by my office, we can do that with these cafes. So I'm in there. If you want to come by and listen to Beyonce with me, we totally can do that. Like we're facilitating that swing in, drop by kind of culture. So I do get some social that way. I'll tell people, hey, I'm in my office for the next couple hours and I'm probably not doing any deep work. I'm probably just doing tasks. So come on in and we can even just not even have mics on. We can just chat, and be in the tech chat together and just be in the same room. I think that's really cool too. So that's an option.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. And again, it's like the important thing is to like find out what works for you and what works for your team, and how can you like create these moments, and how can you stay social and like everything, like to help everyone do their best work, like not to be working all the time, because I think also sometimes when you have like that, like a lot of meetings, or like, yeah, we'll have like stand up every day, have an hour, and then meetings, and it's like I cannot even work, right? So so I think like it's really important to like recognize these strategies and things you can do like to stay social with your team or by yourself, which I guess is the most difficult thing.
Yeah. There's two elements to it, right? So it's really good if you had that control over your schedule to be able to manage that, and paying attention to when you thrive too. There's days where when something works really well for me, I'm trying to like pay attention to it consciously and be like, wow, I felt really good today. Like I felt really balanced. And then I try to take notes on that. Like, oh, what did I do this morning? Okay. I like didn't look at my phone immediately. I did 1 hour of light work in the morning. Maybe I had some, chunks of time for deep work. And then I had a quick social with a team check-in. Like that worked well. How can I replicate that and put that on my calendar every day or most days? I think also recognizing what works and paying attention to what works for you is really awesome too. I'm trying to replicate that.
Yeah, that's great advice, I think. And I think remote work like gives you that ability to kind of like focus on like those things, because there are so many things you can actually choose and you can actually do, that when you're in the office or when you go to the co-working space, I mean, of course, if you like it, that's perfectly, but there are so many things you cannot control. And when you're working from home, or when you choose where to work from, you can have like these spaces where you can like be happier, you can be more productive, you can work better, I feel.
I agree.
And that is great. Yeah, so I think those were the comments, and unless anyone else has a question or anyone else wants to like talk about their experience, I think we can wrap it up, start wrapping it up. So I guess the question is, where can people find you? How can we join Workfrom? How, like, do we have to download it? Do we like walk us through that?
Okay, yeah, you can go to workfrom.com. And there is a big, huge virtual cafe when you land there, and you can click on the button that says get started, and you can open your own space and see how it goes, and you can create many spaces. You can create a neighborhood. We like to call them neighborhoods, and maybe have different rooms for different intentions. Maybe it's a team room, maybe it's a silent room for just coffee, or whatever, just hanging out or co-working. So that's where you'll get started. If you want to follow us on the socials, we are at Workfrom on Twitter. We're Workfrom on Instagram. We're pretty much Workfrom all across all the platforms. So yeah, or you can actually check out, we actually have, if you go to workfrom.com, you'll also see that we have other tools near the bottom where you can join the remote work Slack community and join our Slack, and we'll hang out in the Slack asynchronously every day and co-work together in virtual cafes.
Yay, awesome. For someone asking, yes, there will be a replay. This video will be up in its entirety. Like, you can watch all of it. If you have questions, you can also add the questions in the comments and we will answer them async style. And so thank you so much, Jessica. This was super interesting and I hope we can have another conversation.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
And thank you everyone who joined. Have a nice day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.